So I love reading good books. I'm sure you guys do too. And I've had this authoress on my show before. And you can look, if you look behind, if you're watching, a lot of people are listening, but if you're watching behind her, her name is Night Was the Bomb. She knows I love that book. I read the rest of the series. I love the series. It's 3 books, but she knows how much we went in depth in it. We went in between the pages of that book. We're gonna do it again. This time it's not, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not from the series. It's something totally different. Where she's showcasing another side of her writing. It's called Not What She Seems, and I want to make sure I'm showing the book. I will post pictures of the book online if you're listening to us on our podcasting version. We love that. Is this in between the pages with James Lott Jr., Not What She Seems by Yasmin Angoe. Hi, Yasmin.
Hey, James, how are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Again, another great book. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to go back for a second because we're in between the pages. I'm going to go back for a second. It's my chance to kind of almost fall up a little bit. I'm going to go heavily deep into it. What's really called? I enjoyed the 3 series. The night, I call it the night series. I mean, what is the official series name of it? I call it the night series.
We call the night series, Nina Night series. I mean, so it's fine. It's everything.
Yes, and it is everything, you guys. So good. I love the lead character, of course, and she's so good and everything. So I just have to ask: the way you left it, could there? I mean, I know there's some kind of outside thing happening. I don't know if you want to talk about it yet at all. Developing kind of based on the series, but
right.
But we see more of her. We see more of her.
I hope we do, because I've never been done with her. I just follow what the publisher tells me, and so they wanted like a 3-book arc, which is what I gave them. But like I left the 3rd one kind of on a cliff a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So that it could, open, because I think that there's so many places where, she could still go, and so many elements of, the tribal council and everything that we can like delve into. I would love to do like a prequel, and, with featuring Noble and Delphine and how they even start up the tribe, and all of that. Like, I think that would be like so cool to do. So, I hope that I get the opportunity to delve back into that world. I think about that world every day. Nina is still with me, and I miss, writing her every day, but she gave me a hall pass to go, find someone else to write about. And so that's what I did with Jack.
And that's what's on Jack. I just want to put a little button on that. I enjoy the series a lot, and I hope we do get to see more of her in some capacity.
I know that's right. Let's speak that into existence. You know how it is in Hollywood. So there's never any news until there's finally news, and I'm still waiting on some daggone news because it's so slow.
She's waiting. But fun, folks, check that series out. Stars Her Name Is Night. They come at night. It ends with night. It's just a great series, and we're getting her Ghana experience and then her America experience. It's all mixed together, and they're good thrillers. I mean, there's good stuff going on in them. So check it out. In this book, now so I'm gonna ask you to describe the book to you. But from what I read it, folks think, I read these books. I don't just like, she knows I read these books. It's coming. I know as a person who left home and came back years later, I know what that feels like. So there's that in there. And coming back I left kind of, like, it's a little side note for folks at home. I kind of left on interesting terms when I left. So when I came back, I was confronted with all of that. So I related to her in many ways.
Yeah, it really hit home for you then.
Oh, yes, it did, indeed. Where did she come from?
She came from, I wanted to delve into someone who wasn't as elite and put together as Nina was. I really I like to call Jack reckless, because that's what she is. Where she is in her life when we meet her, she's really always been kind of like that way, just reckless and doesn't, think before she acts and things like that. And so I wanted to write someone who wasn't so careful with everything they said and did, and wasn't so, meticulous in their planning like Nina was. And I just wanted to have fun with it. And then I wanted to talk about, the same things that you just mentioned, like going away, under whatever kind of pretenses, and then having to come back and face all of those people that you left and all of those feelings, and how do you deal with it now, plus other things. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to read the description, folks, and I'm going to have her explain it to you guys a little bit. It says, she left home as a local pariah at 22. I left at 18. But then, of course, a family tragedy brings her back. And what's interesting is, I'm paraphrasing because I did read the book. She's having to deal with coming back, those feelings about that, unresolved feelings about that. But then there's something's happening, there's a tragedy that happens. And so she's dealing with that. Okay, so place is called Brook Haven, and her name is Jacinda Brodie. So we go like Jack, it's very cute, love the name. And you did it in South Carolina. You're like, we're doing some SC down there, a small cliffside town. And it feels like it's not feel like home, but it is your home, but it's not your home. I understand that part. A police chief falls to his death. Whispers saying she was to blame. People whispering behind, whatever. And she was her father. It was her father. So I was like, "Girl, that you're adding to a drama. Oh, you're adding that to a thing." I'm like, "That's really interesting." So she left, whatever. But then her granddad. So now we got multi-generational shit going on. We got granddad. Now he's like not feeling well. So she comes home, and I know you love my little description. And so the place has grown also since then, which you described. It's very different than when she left, which that happens too. And then there's a wealthy newcomer, Faye Arden, is in there. So we got an antagonist. Somebody be like, "Well, what's going on?" She's put together supposedly. I'm doing air quotes all over the place. Put together, but she's multi-layered too. Another character's multi-layered. And Jack is trying to figure out what's going on, but there's obstacles along the way. So that's what I got out of the book. So part of that's the description, part of that's me talking, because I
love it.
Thank you. So how would you, let's elaborate on what I just said about the book itself.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely, so she left, it was more of a self-exile, right? They didn't really tell her to go, but she felt she had to because, her father died, and it's a mysterious circumstances because she was the one that was there. But because it was so traumatic, she can't really recall what happened. And so her guilt drives her away from the town and the people and them all looking at her. And she's always been the wild child in this town. It's a very small southern town. And I have to give the caveat that it is a fake town so that no South Carolinians come for me and try to say, "You wrote my town wrong," and all this other stuff. No, because I made it up. So it could be whatever it needs.
Hilarious, yes.
But yeah, it's set in, so I live in South Carolina. I'm not from South Carolina. So South Carolina, I really love it here because every town is like this small town where people have been for like generations and generations. And I think that that's so interesting, especially since my family is from Ghana. And so I don't have those generations. And so I really like, get into everyone else's, and Southerners are like super sweet and the smile, and they've got the nice accent that just sounds so pretty, and all this other stuff, and this whole place is so pretty, but underneath it all, lies some darkness, right? Literally, in the town where she is, with the surrounding woods and the swamp, and then also within like the people, within Faye, within herself and other people, that we soon learn, with the family and stuff like that, that there are more to everyone than meets the eye. And we all, because I was really I'm always like watching people. I'm a people watcher. And I always wonder, like, what are people like? What's James like when he's like by himself at home? And like, like, what does he do? And how is he really? Is he really like this great and nice? Or is he just like an asshole? Like, total, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like, that's what I think about, which it might be weird, but like, I really think about that. Like, who are these people and what are they like when they get home? And there are no eyes on them. And so I really wanted to kind of delve into that, because also down here in South Carolina, like they're really big, especially in the Black community, on the Greek life, right? Sorority, fraternities, everyone has join something. And so those things, Jack and Jill, all of those debutante balls and all this other stuff, where I don't see that up in Northern Virginia near DC. So, right. And so I was like, well, like, what is that about? And I want to write about that. And I want to write about pretenses and misrepresenting yourself, and then also people misrepresenting you because they're just making assumptions and whatever. And how do you deal with that when somebody misrepresents you and everyone believes that person because that person is wealthy or that person is of a certain color, or whatever the case may be? And how do you come up against that? And so that is Jack's fight.
Yeah. Folks at home, some of you may know, I lost my stepdad last year suddenly, but he's from Rockville, South Carolina.
Oh yeah, that's only like a little less than an hour away.
Yes, and my best friend, my chocolate twin, everybody knows Tony Moore from Dish Days, is also from there and went to Winthrop University.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I know about South Carolina. I've driven through it. It's beautiful. And the Carolinas are beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right. As I have Southern branches of my family. That's when reading this book, when you meet somebody like, hi, here you're just a character, and you're like, hi, okay. We get the surface thing, and I'm like, yeah, there's something else in there because, and you reveal it later, of course, and later on in the stories. But that's my family. They just didn't. My family on the East Coast and the Caribbean, they tell everything. They say everybody business, it's all that always stuff, but not in the South. Yep. It's a very different thing. It's like you won't even know it a lot of times till later. And you actually in this book, several of your characters, you're showing the behind the eyes, like you're finding what else is going on there because in the service you're like, well, they're all together and they're fine and it's good, we're good. And so Jack is a crazy one. She's just crazy. She's just all like, well, sometimes she ain't. She ain't that crazy. She's finding stuff out. And like, no, there's some crazy stuff going on. That's what's happening because they don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. And it's like, see no evil, hear no evil. Like we're not they'll talk about other people and each other, right? But they'll never talk about their own or directly to the person. And Jack has just never been with it. She's always pushed up against, all of those labels that her mom wants to put on. And we find, there's so much struggle between her and her mom, but we learn why that mom is the way that she is, and how Jack really is conflicted about her relationship with her mom because she wants her mother to accept her and love her, and to be proud of her like she is of her her doctor to be sister, right? But she also wants to be, the hookah smoking, hey, chill out girl, you know what I'm saying? And who doesn't do much of anything except for, research a couple of things and sleep around a little bit if she wants,
Okay,
so.
and here's my thing about that, Miss Yasmin.
Yes.
I felt for Jack on some level, going, okay, well, she's a grown-ass woman.
Yeah.
We do shame women more than we shame men for having sex, for smoking, for doing anything that's not, lady, especially itself, as not deemed ladylike.
Exactly.
And I appreciated you are telling us the mother's kind of her story. Well, obviously being married to a police chief, the whole being a law enforcement family, kind of being, having one daughter and it's huge, does all, the overachiever. That happens in families, right? It happens in every family. So it's kind of like, is Jack that bad? No, I part of me says no. She's just, maybe she has it down on some level that she's just not going to follow what has come before.
Right.
I don't know how you find it. When I was reading, I was going, she's not that bad. She's like a girl I hang out with, someone I would hang out with on Friday or Saturday or Sunday brunch.
And that's what I wanted her. I wanted the reader to be able to be like, she's really not that bad. Like, what is the mother's problem? What is this town? Because that's what happens, like people put their expectations and, that's why it took me over 20 years to become a writer, right? Because my family, especially being an immigrant family, a writer, a creative, well, you better be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, something that makes the money every 2 weeks tangible, right? And so that's very much what Jack's mother thinks too. And so if you're not going to be these things, like your dad, like your sister, like the rest of the town, then what are you doing right now? And so she tries to really force her into these things because she thinks ultimately, mom and all parents, I guess, most parents think that they're doing what's best for their kid, but it's not, because they never got a chance to really know that kid. So yeah, I'm so glad that you said that. You thought that Jack wasn't, that bad. She could be annoying and make bad decisions, but we all do. I wanted people to be like, girl, what are you doing? But then you understand, you know what? When I was 26, I did that same
Oh,
thing.
yes. Oh, my God.
I made some bad men choices. Let me just
A few. Yeah.
a few, right?
And
So,
some were fun, but it was still bad choices.
right.
Let me sip my tea real quick on that one.
Your sweet tea. It needs to be sweet tea when it comes to this.
But so I don't understand that too. No, I do. No, I know. No, seriously. And that's the thing, because I get your now that I'm older, reading about younger characters is always interesting to read that. It's like, oh, okay. Because I think, will I identify with the mom? Will I identify with the older character? When like, well, I can identify with both. I was raised a certain way too, and I do have daughters. I have daughters in their 30s, and so they think differently than I do a little bit. And it's kind of like there's always going to be a push and pull. Let's see. I think too, though, Yasmin, it's always also mother-daughter. That's a very interesting dynamic.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You come from immigrant families, so you even know.
Oh, I'm getting it hard on both ends. And I have a daughter as well. So, and I try to be mindful, because I know how I feel, even at my big old age, when my mom is like here and she's like, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, and I just revert back to that child, because especially like you said, because you said your parents from Caribbean family, right? Like there is no talking back. And I mean, it is a very authoritarian type of, discipline going on, even at our age. And so we still have to, submit to that. And I try not to do that as much, but then there are some parts that I do agree with, in terms of, I feel like that helps also. So it's just the balance of it all. It's hard.
Um, when you went, so I guess you go in between the pages. Did she come to you first, the character, or did the story come to you first? I'm always curious about that.
So that's a good question. I think the story kind of came first, because I wanted to, um, it came all the way since when I was teaching in seventh grade. There were these two particular literary works that I loved teaching, like during Halloween. And I guess that kind of goes with my brand of being a thriller writer. I love teaching The Spider and the Fly by Mary Howitt, which is a children's poem, but it is really dark, and I just don't understand how it is, but it is a children's poem. And then I taught The Landlady by Roald Dahl, and those two shared very similar themes of misperceptions, and using compliments and and all these things to get your victim and get your clutches in your victim, and like they don't know that they're got until it's too late. And I loved teaching that, and luckily I didn't have any parents who came for me, because I was teaching these dark things to their kids. But like those stories always stuck to me, because it goes with that whole thing that I was telling you about, like how are people like really. And so I always knew that I kind of wanted to tell a rendition of those stories in that poem, and to just see. And so that's I knew I was going to write a story kind of similar to that, like this person who isn't what they are. And then Jack, like I said, she came after, because she came after Nina. And so I knew I wanted to write something different than Nina. And so I figured, oh, a character like Jack would be great in this kind of story, because it will be hard for her to get people on her side when they're already thinking a certain kind of way, about her. So
Yeah, I like that. I like that, because I know that I'm sure, because you've been writing about Nina for so long, so consecutively, that it probably would have been hard. Okay, oh nope, that's Nina. That's not her. Like Nina they're probably seeing your instinctual stuff was like, she react this way. No, that's how Nina would react, right?
yeah. Yeah, it was very hard, but the fun also was, it was challenging, but it was also fun in how would Nina do this, and that's not how Jack can do this. And I was very, I had to be strict with myself that both of them had to have totally different personalities. But then they also had to have a different set of skill sets, and a toolbox, right? And so we know that Nina is gonna, she knows her weapons and fighting and military kind of stuff. And so she's very, she'll take Faye out in a heartbeat, without any
Right.
issue.
Right.
And be well matched with Faye in that. But Jack, she's just a research assistant at a college. And so what is in her toolbox? And that's the thing that she has to find out, like, what is in my toolbox? What can I pull on to when she realizes that she's up against somebody who is way beyond what she ever expected. She just thought she was dealing with like maybe a thief. She didn't know all the other stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, folks, there's a whole thing in there where something's missing and there's her grandfathers and stuff. And the thing is, and you do. I mean, I think you will find out what she finds out about herself. That's part of this. She's finding it. And the title, Not What She Seems, can apply to that too. She's not what she seems.
Nope.
She thinks she is. That's self-discovery, right? We think people view a certain way, and then we view ourselves a certain way.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
And you kind of express that in the book a little bit too with that. So it's kind of like, okay, and we're always fighting the parent stuff, the grandparent stuff, the upbringing over here, the friendships, whatever. We're fighting that constantly through our adulthood. Adulting's not easy, kids.
It's not.
I'm tired. I've been adulting for 40 years where I'm tired.
Right. It's for the birds, to be honest.
So, okay, so I know this book just came out, but you are an author, and so I have to ask, more of Jack?
I think that this is a standalone, so I think this is a one and done, but I also hate to say that because I always feel like I leave things because, and I won't give away like the ending or whatever, but like, who says that things are totally done, in terms of, the antagonist or whatever. Like there are things that could still happen. And so it could, but unless my publisher asks for it, probably not. I'm gonna move on to something else, and then we'll see how that all plays. But I guess I'm just really nostalgic. I'm like a character hoarder instead of like hoarder in my house. Like I just hoard all my characters, and I never want to let any of them go.
Well, think about your books. Now that I've read your books, I think I told you this last time. I imagine spinoffs. I just do. I'm a spinoff person. I said to you last time, again, going back to the tribe, going back to Ghana. There's and this one too. You could do prequels. You could do side characters. Where there's fake. You could do all kind of stuff. Literally, mom story. You can do all. I mean,
even granddad, because I figure I'm like, to me he's like the Black Columbo. I don't know why, but he is. And so I'm just like, I would love to hear, have a story of Montavious Brodie Sr. and his endeavors, like while he's trying to get like these bad guys, and then he comes up. I think, yeah, you're right. Like I think about all of those things, and so I try to put those kinds of stories in where people would want to know more about all these things that have transpired prior to this story that all fuel this story. You know what I mean?
Well, what is next?
That's a good question. Actually, I mean, like I have like a loose idea of what I'm gonna do next. I think it's gonna be kind of like a revenge story. But I haven't like ironed everything out yet, and I need to, because it takes me a long time to think about the characters and what their whole arc is before I can actually sit down and write it. But I'm nearly there. There's this one little piece that is still like messing with me. And once I hash that out, I'm going to knock these things out and get it turned in.
Well, my thing is, so when you finish a book, do you need downtime before you start another book? Where you're like, okay, I put my all into this book. It's out. It's been birthed. Right? Do you need that downtime in between?
I would like that, but the way that my contract and the publishers work is it's pretty much been a book a year since I've been with them. And the minute that I'm done writing something and I'm turning it in and waiting for my notes back, then we're already starting to think about, the one that's already out, and they're, trying to promote that and what that whole, so it's always either promoting a book or writing a book, like it doesn't end. And so my brain is tired, but like I try to get like a little bit of downtime time in between. I always tell them, you don't have to rush getting me notes back. It's okay. They don't listen, but like I tell them that because I could use, a couple more days.
Yes, I love it. No, I mean, no, you're good. I mean, this is again, folks, not what she seems. It is the bomb diggity paperback Kindle, Audible too. I think is Audible too.
Audible, hard copies, all of the formats. You should
All
definitely check it out.
Go out and get it. Run, don't walk. You don't have to run. You just go on your phone, tablet, whatever. Just say James sent you. Go ahead and do it, folks. Thanks for being on my show once again. You're wonderful. You're welcome back anytime, any book, anytime.
Thank you for having me. I was looking forward to this. Thank you.
Same here, I was too. Tell folks where they can actually find if they want to talk to you online or anything. Tell them where they can find you.
Sure. So you can get me on IG at author_Yasmin Angoe, and I am on Twitter, or I guess X, at Yas a Writer. My website, yasminango.com. You can, find me there, and you can even drop me an email. And if you speak to me nicely, I'll email you back.
That's very important, kids. I'll put all those underneath the description so I can have that, of course. And folks, I'm James Lott Jr. Of course, I have books on there too. You go to Amazon, go to James Lott Jr. and check out books. Reading is fun. Reading is fun. And I just tell people we have to support artists. It's just very important in today's age. And books, I say this every single time I do the show, books should not be banned. Books should be celebrated. It should be passed out. They should be seen. They should be read. From all walks of life, including Yasmin. There's all kinds of great books and stories out there, and I know reading has changed my life, my whole life, and I come from a family of voracious readers, so I'm just very strong about supporting authors and artists who are creating quality material for you, quality material. So support that. And I'm James Lott Jr. Talk to you guys next time.